Many people are switching jobs, leaving the workforce entirely, or just waiting on the sidelines. But what can employers be doing right now to drive retention in today's market?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So if we're talking about retention, you better be showing your team that there's a ladder where they are, because I think leaders need to hear this. The leader mentality, and it's about getting the right person in the right spot, right? So I'm a big football fan. We're in the middle of football season. So you've got a 53-man roster on the NFL. And so every year they go through an arduous process by which they take 90 some players or whatever it is when they start training camp, and then they whittle it down to a 53-man roster. And the great GMs and the great coaches are ones that assemble the right talent. And so the leader's role is, do I have the right people on the right seat of the bus? That is the primary role. However, a blind spot for leaders is when they don't think, how do I keep them? One of the ways that we keep them is what you've addressed in the question. Retention is about making sure that they see an opportunity to grow, not just in their skill set, not just in their experience, not just financially, but in their role, more influence, more of a challenge. All those other things matter tremendously. But at the end of the day, we are creatures of progress. And so you've got to make sure that you give these people a ladder to a future, that they see contribution growing. And I think if you do that, you're going to have people stay with you much longer.
Of course, today you're now the host of the Ken Coleman Show, where you hear from people every day looking to land their dream job. In talking to your listeners, what are some of the commonalities? What are most people looking for?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. I think it falls into three major buckets of people that are listening to the show and calling the show. The first group are people who really don't know clearly, or they don't believe firmly that they know what they're supposed to do with their life. So we could call them unclear or confused. That's the first bucket. I'm not sure what I want to do with my life, Ken. The second group, they know what they want to do, pretty darn good idea, but they don't know how to get there. And then the third group is very interesting. They know what they want to do or what they're supposed to do. They know how to get there, but fear, finances, or family, or past failure is keeping them on the sideline. So that group is really interesting. It's a smaller group of the three, but those people know what they're supposed to do and how to get there. But either they have to make a move and family would never go for it, or family would be upset, or maybe they're in debt and their finances are a mess. And so they're like, I don't think I can do it. And then past failure, whether it was moral failure or they started a version of the dream years ago and it failed spectacularly, and they're afraid to come back out of the cave.
The realities of the career marketplace evolve frequently, leaving both prospective employees and employers at a loss. The pandemic informed people on a great deal about their ideal workplace, favoring organizations that value work-life balance and the culture they are surrounded by. Many post-pandemic employers are finding it difficult to adapt quickly enough to attract the quality candidates they're looking for. Named 2022's top executive search firm, ThinkingAhead helps employers to understand these trends so that their employees stay for good. ThinkingAhead Executive Search understands how to match the right candidate with the right client at the right time. Basing their efforts on their expertise in reading the real-time realities of the career marketplace, ThinkingAhead ensures that candidates and employers find their perfect fit.
ThinkingAhead.
Expertise to guide your thinking.
Begin the search at thinkingahead.com.